The borrowed voice. I've worked the midnight wire in this town for 22 years. You sit in the dark, bathed in the glow of the monitors, and you become the ear for the world's nightmares. You hear the drunks, the night terrors, the lonely old folks who just want to know someone is awake with them. You get used to the weird, but you never get used to the impossible. At 2:13 a.m., the first call came in from a house that had been empty for 6 years. The girl on the line whispered, "Please don't send anyone." That's how he learns new voices. Then from somewhere behind her, a man spoke in her exact voice and said, "Too late." I dispatched 2 cruisers to 42 Elm Street. Protocol is protocol, even when the address belongs to a foreclosed shell of rotted wood and dead memories. The dispatcher's golden rule is simple. You send the badge, no matter what the voice on the phone says. Officer Vance radioed in. "Dispatch, this is Unit 4. We're making entry. Front doors busted off the hinges. Looks like squatters." I sat in my rolling chair, the foam earpiece pressing into my skull, listening to Vance and Miller clear the house. Hallway, kitchen, living room. Nothing but dust and the smell of old rain. And then they reached the master bedroom. Officer Vance gasped over the radio. A wet, panicked sound. "Jesus Christ! Dispatch, we need an ambulance. We need... God, what is this?" They didn't find a little girl. They found 2 drifters who had broken in to sleep off the cold. Vance's voice was shaking. Cops don't shake. Not the veterans. He told me they were standing up in the middle of the room, not moving, just standing. Their mouths were hinged open, wide and slack, like a snake unhinging its jaw. And their throats. Vance said their throats were bleeding profusely, torn to ribbons from the inside out, like something had curled up in their bellies and clawed its way up through their vocal cords to get out. It took 45 minutes for the crime scene tape to go up. My hands were still clammy on the keyboard. I tried to tell myself it was a drug deal gone bad, a bad batch of something synthetic that makes you tear your own throat out. But the little girl's voice, the man who spoke with her tongue, it sat in the back of my mind like a spider. 3:05 a.m., a residential address on the good side of town, 119 Maple Drive. The little girl said he liked the men in the dark house. They were loud. It was her again, the little girl. But the cadence was wrong. It was smoother. The static wasn't on the line. The static was in her voice, like a radio tuning itself to a clearer frequency. I asked, 911, what is your emergency? Are you in danger? The little girl whispered, it hurts them when he pulls the words out. He's wearing my voice again. Then the line went dead. I sent 3 cars. I told them to approach with extreme caution. Told them we had a possible 187 in progress. When they kicked in the door of 119 Maple, it was a carbon copy. A family of 3, standing perfectly still in the kitchen. The fridge door wide open, mouths agape, throats ruined, blank eyes staring at the ceiling, bleeding out in total silence. 2 calls, 5 victims, 0 suspects, and the dispatcher sitting in the middle of the web. That's when the cold water hit the back of my neck. I replayed the audio from the first call, then the second. I watched the waveforms on my monitor. The girl wasn't the victim. There was no girl. That's how he learns new voices. The entity, the thing, whatever it wasn't calling for help. It was calling to set a trap. Every time I sent the police, I was ringing the dinner bell. I was sending a fresh audience. It was breaking into houses, waiting for the flashing lights to arrive, and then it would take them. It would tear the screams right out of their throats to practice its pitch. It was tuning its instrument. The phone rang again at 3:58 a.m. I didn't want to answer. God help me, I wanted to rip the cord out of the wall. But if you don't answer, they fire you. And if they fire you, someone else sits in this chair. Someone who doesn't know the rules of the game. I picked up. The little girl said they had so many words to give. The voice was perfect now. No static, no metallic hum. It sounded like a flesh and blood child standing right next to my ear. I could hear the wet smack of lips, the intake of breath. I asked, "Where are you?" She answered, 1400 Blackwood Lane, the old folks' home. The nurses are so quiet. He's wearing my voice again. I broke protocol. I didn't send a soul. I let the silence hang on the radio for 5 minutes, 10, 15. I figured if I didn't send the cops, The siren wouldn't draw it out, I could starve it. But the universe has a sick sense of humor. A rookie named Davis was doing a routine perimeter check near Blackwood Lane. He saw the front doors of the facility blown off their hinges. He went in blind, didn't even radio it in until he was already inside the lobby. Officer Davis radioed in, terrified and hyperventilating. Dispatch, dispatch. Oh my God, they're all, the wheelchairs, the beds, their mouths. 12 residents, 3 night nurses, all standing, all silent, all bleeding from the inside out. And Davis didn't finish his sentence. The radio just went dead with a wet snap. By 4:30 a.m. the state police were mobilizing. The FBI was getting woken up. The whole town was going into lockdown. But I knew it didn't matter. You can't put handcuffs on a shadow. You can't shoot an echo. At 4:44 a.m. the phone rang one last time. Line 1. I picked it up. I didn't say standard dispatch. I just breathed into the receiver. No static, just the ambient hum of an air conditioner. It sounded exactly like the air conditioner inside the dispatch center. It wasn't the little girl anymore. Officer Davis's voice said, "Hey Arnie, it's Davis." It was Davis, the rookie. His voice was flawless. The slight southern drawl, the nervous tremor, it had captured him perfectly, stolen him entirely. Davis's voice said, "I've got so many new sounds to play with now, Arnie. So many octaves." My blood turned to ice, not just because it had taken Davis, but because of the background noise on the call. Behind the stolen voice of Officer Davis, I didn't hear a dark, suburban house. I didn't hear an empty nursing home. I heard the hum of my own fluorescent lights. I heard the ticking of the wall clock over my door. Davis's voice slowly morphed into the little girl's voice. He's wearing my voice again. It wasn't calling from across town anymore. It was calling from the other side of my door. Heavy, slow footsteps crossed the linoleum floor outside, then stopped. I sit here in the dark. The phone is still off the hook. I can hear it breathing on the other side of the heavy steel. I know what it wants. It's mastered the little girl. It's mastered the drifters, the families, the nurses, the cops, but it hasn't mastered a 911 dispatcher yet. It needs to know how to answer the phone when the rest of the world wakes up and starts screaming. The door handle began, very slowly, to turn. The door swung open into pitch darkness. Then, from the darkness, a voice that sounded exactly like mine spoke.